Okay, let's go ahead and begin with Chapter 1. Where are my Chapter 1 groups? That would be number 1 and number 2. Okay, right over here. Who suggests jumping from the tree first? Emily? Finny suggests jumping from the tree first. How do the other boys react?
Well, Gene does it, even though he hesitates, but and then none of the other boys do.
Okay, so we have Finny. We have Gene. Do you remember the name of any of the other boys?
One of them begins with an L.
Help her out, Jordan. Leper, that's correct. The other boys just sort of fade into the background, right? You don't really know names. But Leper seems to be a fully developed character. So we have Finny and we have Gene. We have these three boys, as well as some others, over there on the grounds of Devon. Finny says, hey, let's jump out of the tree. Finny joins. Leper stays down below, does not do that. Excellent. How does this demonstrate contrast between Gene and Finny? Sydney?
Finny doesn't always think everything through, and he just sort of goes like on the instant. And then Gene thinks everything through, and like he knows that he'll maybe like the consequences are like words.
Okay. Sydney, that is excellent. So when these three boys are out here, Finny decides, hey, I'm going to go up. I need a tree. I need a tree. Uh-oh. Okay. Art. Let's see. Trees have to have knot holes, right? To Kill a Mockingbird taught me something. Okay. That's a knot hole in the tree. And so we've got... You like that? Wait a minute, wait a minute. That's a bird. Okay, so Finny, I'm down here. Look at that tree, it's gigantic. I'm going to jump up this tree and jump out of the tree. Now, hold on. Gene, oh yeah, look at this tree, it's fantastic. I'm going to jump up this, or walk up this tree. I'm going to jump out of this tree. I'm an impartial third observer. From my perspective, it looks like these two boys are the same. Yet Sydney is claiming, and of course following my question, that there's a sharp contrast. Sydney, how do you know that there's a sharp contrast between these two boys?
Because when Gene is about to jump off, he starts like thinking, why didn't Finny talk to me today?
Excellent. So, what we have here this big looming Gene. We are inside Gene's head. First person narrative perspective. Therefore, on the exterior, these boys seem rather identical. On the interior, they are vastly different. How does Knowles emphasize their exterior, or from my impartial third person perspective, how do they emphasize that these two boys are the same from outside?
She like makes them look the same, and she makes them like do the same things, but only like because you don't get like what he's thinking, it makes it look like they're both doing the same thing. That's no problem.
Excellent. So from outside, we see that these two boys are doing the same thing. These two boys look almost the same. These two boys are about the same age. So from an exterior perspective, these two boys are the same. However, Sydney's saying, yeah, but you are existing inside Gene's brain here. You know what's going on behind the scenes. This develops the sharp contrast already existing within a separate piece. And I think that we need to hear from Knowles. So I'd like somebody to find some sort of page reference that shows at this moment that Gene is departing, that Gene is resisting, but only within his mind. Call it out when you feel you've got a really good quotation that shows this. I'm going to take Melissa and Madison off the table for this because you guys have been participating so well. Jordan, what do you have? What page?
Page
17.
17.
All right. Jordan, go ahead and read for us.
What was I doing up here anyway? Why did I let Finny talk me into stupid things like this? Was he getting some kind of hold over me?
Excellent. And then, of course, jump. With the sensation that I was throwing my life away, I jumped into space. Some tips of branches snapped past me, and then I crashed into the river, or into the water. My legs hit the soft mud of the bottom, and immediately I was on the surface being congratulated. I felt fine. So he gets through it okay. He feels fine about it, and yet the doubt that Jordan mentions Not only surfaces there, but surfaces at other places throughout. Can you give me examples of somewhere else within these first 3 chapters, doesn't even have to be in chapter 1, where we see from an interior perspective that there's contrast between these two boys, that something's not quite right, that there's not as much of a connection between the two of them as we might see on the outside? And you don't have to find it necessarily in the text, but just tell April.
At the very, very end of chapter 3,
Yes.
they're at the beach.
Yes.
Finny was one to speak out about their friendship, and then Gene.
Very good. So Gene, inside his brain, is resisting that deep friendship. Very good. And Finny, of course, is kind of clueless, so doesn't even notice. But we notice because we're existing in here. Mitch. Excellent. And he resents it, right? He's very disappointed. Very good. Navina.
That one day that he has to beach, he
Uh-huh.
says that he has to finish studying and all that, but Finny wants to go right away. He doesn't think about it.
Excellent. Yes, Navina, thank you. He's definitely resistant to the beach idea, even though he goes seemingly willingly. Melissa, last point.
When Finny breaks the swimming record,
Yes.
you see how Gene wanted to tell someone and wanted him to do it in front of the coach and stuff, and Finny's just no, I don't want to, and Gene's are you kind of was are you stupid? Why don't you want to do it?
And also, on the inside, Gene resents Finny for not proving it to the world that he broke that record, for having that quality that he has. All right, that was a little bit of a drift from the point of this QAR set. But I wanted to address it because it's important to see the differences between Gene and Finny on the inside. And you've all come up with excellent support. But let's get back on track with this. So, once again, to remind you, let's take Gene's head out of here. We've got Finny over here, up the tree, down off the tree. We've got Gene, a bit more tentative, but still doing it, coming up here, afraid of it. He mentions his fear. And then down into the river. The third question is more evaluative. It asks you to be a little bit creative. Which of these two boys would fare better in the war, and why? Madison?
I feel like Gene would probably fare better.
Why?
He is more hesitant, but it's because he's thinking things through. And I feel like he's also driven more by wanting to prove himself. Like with the tree, he wanted to do it because Finny was able to do it and he's envious of him.
Okay.
And so he would be challenged in that way with other soldiers and things like that, and he would want to keep moving forward and up in ranks.
So he would do something, but he wouldn't necessarily do it in a foolhardy fashion? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So Finny runs up that tree, jumps out of the tree just because he thinks it would be fun, whereas Gene is a bit more cautious about it. So let's place those two boys on a battlefield. What's Finny going to do on a battlefield? Go crazy? I think that might be a little bit extreme. Ryan, what do you think, going on a battlefield? Oh, you're going to say something.
But on the battlefield, he'd probably be the one that's up in front that runs a band. But he would be a better soldier because he has the courage and he has the motivation. He's not self-centered. He's not self-centered. It's he does think about other people and he does think things out, but we don't see it that way because we see it through his eyes.
Okay.
But he's fearless, and that's what you need to have to be a soldier.
Excellent. Abby?
Well, I feel like it is more because they did say that he was more athletic than Gene was.
True.
So, and he has a mindset of I'm just gonna do it and get it because they were saying he's fearless. So he could go in, I feel on a battlefield and do well, but Gene would think that things through and try to get strategize. So that they both would do well.
Very good. Hands down. I want to remind you that a separate piece is first and foremost a book about war. You will never actually visit a battlefield or enter World War II through this novel. The novel never goes there. The novel begins and ends at Devon. You'll never leave those grounds. However, there's a constant consciousness and reference to World War II. So when you're considering what these boys are doing, you'll see Knowles drop references to World War II. So when Finny walks up the tree, I shouldn't say walk, when Finny climbs up the tree, what does he say they're practicing for? Yeah, specifically what, though? Anybody remember? Jumping off the troop ship. When the troop ship's been torpedoed and you've got to jump off it into the ocean, you're not going to be able to hesitate. You've got to jump off it into the ocean. So Finny, even drops a hint that they're preparing for war. Don't forget that Knowles is always creating this seemingly idyllic story of two boys in the shadow of war. And we should always consider that. Now, you've come up with two excellent answers to this prompt, or this last question, I should say. Which of these two boys? Well, you got an argument for Gene. Guess what? Gene follows rules. Gene thinks before he acts. What are the virtues of a good soldier? Seems to me like somebody who follows orders and expresses caution. Yet I think Ryan brings to mind the hero factor. What makes a good soldier? Maybe that person who is not afraid to rush in. Maybe that person who's not afraid to try to do something for everybody else. Selflessness, and I like how you put that, Ryan. So there are a couple different options for him. But Knowles has developed the tree right now. Knowles has dropped hints about war to gear you toward answering this question. Which of these two characters, which of these two personas would actually fare better in World War II? He wants you to consider which boy would work. All right, that's enough for QAR number 1.